Welcome to this video about hue adjustments. Now, we did talk about vibrance in the last one, and hue is very similar. And in fact, as I mentioned, there is the same adjustment, the saturation adjustment, available to you in the hue adjustment, okay? But basically, again, we're just trying to make the colors pop. And so I'm going to take this image, and basically we're going to grab that, and then we'll talk about what's going on with this one. And really, yeah, let's just go take a look here. So we're going to copy that image back to Photoshop, open up Photoshop, new image, clipboard is good, create, and paste it. So, I mean, this picture is already pretty good, I would say, but just trying to give it a little bit more color there. So again, the adjustments, hue, saturation is there. Now, just a few things about this. So it's got quite a few. We can darken or lighten the image, okay? We have, like we tried before, the saturation. So again, giving a bit more color. That looks probably better, right? And there's one more little trick up its sleeve here is the hue saturation. So you could take your color and sort of change it. Now, we'll sort of see that a little bit. Some students get a little bit confused and they say, well, I'm turning it to blue, but it is sort of this yellowy color, I guess. What's actually happening is down here. So let's sort of cast our eyes down here as I move this. One of them will stay the same, which is this. So this is your usual color wheel. And so we're talking about red. And what's happening is that the red, if we look down at this bottom one that's being shifted, that's what it becomes. So as I pull it to the right, so if I make it sort of blue, but really it's becoming yellow. So if I move that over, greeny yellow, that red has become sort of this greeny yellow color here. And as I pull it further, it's going to get more green because where it was red is now it's green. So that's what kind of is happening down here. Go all the way and it starts to get to the blue. So I didn't quite get to the blue there. I think if I go the other way, maybe pull it back a little bit, there's more of the blue, right? So it works a little bit different than you might suspect. Now, in terms of being able to adjust the colors, there's a couple things you can do. One is the master. Now this is primarily red, so it's not the best image to show this, but the master allows us to control all colors. We also have the reds, and so what we can do is focus just on turning the reds a different color, and the yellows, greens, cyans, blues, magentas. What you'll notice down here is there's actually a little bit of a slider. And so this is sort of saying, well, we're going to be able to influence these colors in here. The ones that are outside of the sliders will be not affected. And I believe this means this will be massively affected kind of, and then these ones just slightly or less affected there with the sort of this first primary and sort of the secondary edge. And the reason there is to try to blend it a bit so that you don't get this really harsh, only this color has changed. But theoretically, you could drag all of these in and get a very, very minimalist color change. So let's just crank it over to the green. And as I try to change the colors, you'll notice that nothing changes because my limit's so small here. Let's just change this back to the reds, magentas, I guess. That's closer to red. And then let's shift this a little bit. I thought I did have reds there. Master greens. Okay, whatever. I'll just move this over. There we go. Okay, so somewhere in the reds here, and like I said, pull that a little bit over. Okay, so now when I adjust this, right, it should change it. Now you can see part of it isn't because I guess part of my limit here isn't allowing me to change that. So you just have to sort of work it so that it helps you out there. But the big idea, right, is really, let me just go back to what I had. Oh, there we go. Back to what I had. The big idea is really sort of for the saturation here. Again, there's the reds. Okay, I wasn't seeing things. I could grab that, and now it's sort of just affecting the reds. But again, like I said, this image here is pretty close to being just red, so it doesn't really matter too much. All right. Yeah, so that's your hue saturation with being able to go into there. Okay, so something like this, right? We've got greens and reds, and we want to be able to change it. So let's just try this one as well. I'm going to copy, go back to Photoshop, File, New, that one, Create, paste it in. And so the idea is if I just did a hue saturation adjustment, I might get some funky things going on, okay, that I don't want. So what I could do, right, is come in, okay, I'm going to do the reds first, maybe pump the color up on the reds, and you can see, right, that's affecting just the reds here. And then I could, the saturation, if I wanted to adjust a little bit, whatever the case is, I think that's kind of okay. But it's really just affecting the reds, and that's what I'm trying to show you here. And then I could go in the greens. Notice everything resets, okay? And then I could sort of go in and let's see, is that changing too much? What I find with the greens sometimes is that I have to pull this a little bit more. Let's just see. Yeah, so that's going way out. Let me just try this one. Yeah, you see I'm not getting much change there. Pull this one over. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of experimentation. Let me pull this in. It should be okay there. Let me just see. Not getting too much greens. I've always had troubles with the greens. Let me pull this up. I'm not talking about the political party. Okay, let's just see. Yeah, that's not changing as much as I would like. A little surprising. But it should be. Yeah, I don't know. It definitely had a little bit, right? Like if I maxed it out, it seemed to be okay. Go back to my master, reset my greens. Anyways, so yeah, it's not doing as much of a shift as I intended. Just pull this down a little bit. Oh, it's interesting. It does go all the way to the other side. If I can pull this one over here. That is interesting there, that's gone on to that side, and I can't bring it back. If I pull this one over. There we go. Okay. Let's just focus a little bit more on the greens, a little bit into the yellows, see if that helps at all. No, I'm not getting much here. But hopefully you get the idea, right, that we should be able to affect more than one color. Let me see if I've got anything helpful in my notes here. Reds. So one thing interesting is that if you select the color green, it does not change the green. This is because there's a lot of yellow in it. You can change it to yellows and see that it does affect the stem more. Okay, so let's just try that before we give up completely on there. So I'm going to click on the greens, change that to yellows. That's what I was saying. I thought you had to extend it down more. Maybe I didn't extend it down enough. There we go. So we're definitely getting it better now. Okay, and I can saturate that, and I can do whatever I need to change the lightness and the color and so on. Good. So yes, so the greens are more like yellows, and that's what I thought. I did have to play around with it. I just needed to go more into the yellows there. Good. So you can try, there is this other image here to try to get that sky more blue, the greens more green, right? Try to make that look a little bit better. And then there's this image here as well. And of course, you can try to find another image if you'd like. All right, we'll end there.